method actors, but no, not me. No, it's, actually, my job is to be frightening, but not be frightened, I don't have to be frightened. I don't think that I have to see him as a dark character at all. Everybody else does, but I think what's dark about him is that it's just everyday life for him, So no, there was no reason for me to go too deep. He's a very playful character, I think. So yeah.
And I mean, certainly being known as playing a villain now, has it changed how people sort of have reacted to you in real life at all? Any unusual sort of...
Yeah, I've only 2 people in my life left.
What happened to everyone else?
I have no choice. No, at the beginning maybe it was a little bit. This microphone is unusual. Yeah, at the beginning it was a little bit weird because I've never been in such a popular television. Am I speaking to this really weird? Yeah, I was a bit too keen. But now I've started to play lots of other kind of different characters, so people, I think, know me a bit better, and I'm not such a bad.
You're not Moriarty himself.
Just looks like him.
just a clone anyway.
Yeah.
And would you say that having played Moriarty, that's changed your life in terms of the roles that you've now getting at all?
Yeah, to be honest with you, I was working for about 15 years before I ever did Sherlock, and I played lots of different types of characters, and so for a couple of years, a lot of the offers that came in were to play more sort of less good versions of Moriarty. So I have made a conscious effort in the past couple of years not to do any more bad guys, because if you're an actor, you want, well, for me, I want to play lots of different types of things. So yeah, that's what I'm trying to do. So there won't be any more bad guys for a little while.
So if you guys want to start lining up to ask your questions, there's a mic on this side, a mic on this side. We'll take some moment. I mean, one thing I was wondering, because at the end of season 3, we see you on our screen say, "Miss me," and then that's it for 3 years. So how did you deal with that, sort of, having to probably field questions for 3 years of, are you alive and coming back?
Yeah, I mean, as I say, it's been 7 years now, so I'm so used to it. So very, I can't tell you. So yeah, I am just very used to it. In fact, when I went to do the Spectre, they were like, you have to keep all the secrets. I was like, listen here, I've been keeping secrets for years.
Piece of cake.
Piece of cake compared to Sherlock, yeah. So yeah, no, I just felt that was really extraordinary, because we filmed that little section, Miss Me, and myself and Mark Gatiss directed that little part. It was just me going to the back of a parking lot while they were filming the rest of the stuff, and just doing this one little line that took about 10 minutes. But it was so explosive to do that, and had such an impact. So that was really, really cool, and all that stuff went up on Piccadilly Circus and that kind of stuff. It was great.
Did you see yourself on the screen?
Oh no, I can't bear looking at myself. Yeah, so no, I didn't go into Piccadilly Circus, but lots of people texted me, so I had to see this movie. It's pretty cool.
It's pretty awesome. And okay, so if you want to start with the questions on this side, in the blue, yeah.
Excuse me, I've lost my voice there.
Sure haven't. Loud and clear.
When you were playing Moriarty, was it quite easy to get into that kind of creepy mindset, or did you have to do anything to prepare for it?
No, he really was brilliantly written. And actually the thing about, he is scary, but I think it's good not to reveal his really vicious side too much, because what's scary about him is that you don't know when he's actually going to pounce. So if he's up sort of full volume the whole time, I think it lessens his impact somewhat, So a lot of the time it's just what he's suggesting, or he's spoken a lot about. That's why it's very well written. My actual screen time isn't that much, but they speak about it, and he's got this great build-up, and certainly in the first series, I wasn't in it at all until the very last 10 minutes, No, I feel like I know the character very well now. But you know, it hasn't been part of my life for some years now, so but it's still in the audience's imagination.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, question on that side.
So, in one
Hi.
Hi. So, in one of the episodes of Sherlock, quite a lot of it set in the Victorian times, including you. So, there's Vivian. Did you prefer playing present-day Moriarty or Victorian Moriarty?
I prefer the present-day Moriarty, just because I think it was such a novel idea. You know, when we first started talking about before it was ever aired, the big worry was, would the audience accept Sherlock in a non-Victorian setting? Everyone was like, I don't know if people really respond to that. And then 4 years later, people were like, I'm not sure they're going to accept Sherlock in the Victorian era. So it's really a testament to how brilliantly it was reimagined that people would sort of questioned it. But yeah, I feel like the thing that's really novel about Sherlock is that it's this sort of ancient, very old story that has been reimagined. So I like the idea of him being sort of present day throughout, ever present.
Thanks. Is there any kind of setting that you'd like to see Sherlock in? Like, you know, take him out of his comfort zone?
Yeah, maybe on a desert island.
He'd probably still be wearing his, like,
yeah. Some sort of Armani trunks.
A question on this side?
Hi, hello.
Hello.
Hi. Firstly, I was thinking Wild West. But I've got two questions, actually, if you don't mind me asking. My first question is, obviously around the same time the show was going on, there was the Robert Downey Jr. Sherlock films, and they too had their own Moriarty in the second film. Was there any conversations or debates between you and said actor in that film? About the same character, of course.
No, like you wouldn't. It would be a really odd thing to do because everybody has got their own interpretations of it. You know, I haven't seen those films actually. I think those films are quite different in the sense that they're kind of more action based.
They're based. I always thought about think Indiana Jones with Sherlock.
Yeah. And I think ours was sort of maybe a little bit more about the brilliant minds of the characters. It was Jared Harris, wasn't Jared Harris?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, no, we spoke to each other.
Oh, okay. And my second question is, obviously now you're doing more films. You're Inspector, Richard Brayton. You were in that Alice film, which, by the way, I think you were the only good thing in that film. But they said that's like shots fired. And obviously Moriarty, the character you play, is a comic book-like character, so I'm thinking, are you going to appear in any comic book films coming up? Maybe something in the MCU? Hopefully Carnage, because I think you'd be perfect with me.
Yeah, would you like to appear?
Maybe, I don't know, I haven't been asked.
Fair enough. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I mean, there's obviously here, you know, there's so much Marvel, DC, and various comics around. Is that something you'd like to explore? Maybe a superhero rather than a villain?
Yeah, definitely. I definitely won't be playing a villain in the next little while. Yeah. No, I think, you know, Moriarty is the original villain. Mm-hmm. He's the original supervillain. So, as interesting as other villains are, I feel like it's, you know, it's great fun. I think like you see with everybody here, what captures your imagination as a kid when I was watching films and TV wasn't just one particular thing. I always liked the idea of shape-shifting a little bit, and that's what Moriarty does a little bit. He's lots of different characters, which is why he's brilliant and what I really like as an actor. So it would be a bit depressing for me just to be doing that all the time. And you know, I work a lot in the theatre and I like independent films as well. And so that doesn't mean that I wouldn't. I love those big films of Marvel and DC and all that kind of stuff. But I just feel like unless it was really, really different in tone, I don't think for the moment being a villain is of another villain is of worth to me. And you know, I think people might just be.
I think I'd like to see you as a superhero.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
That would be great. Okay, on this side.
Hi.
Hi there, Charlie.
If you could have played anyone else in Sherlock, who would it be?
I've answered this question before, and I always say the same answer, which is Mrs. Hudson. Should I expand? No, just I think that is that's a really good example of why Sherlock is so brilliantly written, because that is not on page necessarily. Well, it's a small part, but both Una and the writers have made that part really witty and funny, and people adore her. And I think that's a real testament to both the writing and the formidable actress that Una is.
Can you do an impression of her at all?
I wouldn't dare.
I've certainly seen some of the other cast members, like Benedict does an impression of you. Have you seen that?
No.
He goes, oh, that's what people do?
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Didn't know that.
Okay, on this side, do you have any questions?
Hi.
Hi there.
A bit too small.
Oh, yeah.
It does come out, yeah, you can take it out.
I've been a massive fan of the show. My favourite character is obviously Moriarty.
Obviously.
My favourite Moriarty is when he's on the throne. When he goes into the Tower of London.
Oh, I mean, yeah, when he's on the phone. Oh, yeah.
So I was wondering, what is your actual favourite Moriarty that you've done in the whole show?
That's my favourite too. That is really good, because that is a really good example. I don't have any. I had to say, I broke into the Tower of London, and there was all this music playing and all that kind of stuff, and then I only had 2 lines in that, but it was brilliantly edited, that whole sequence, and it just finished, and all the police and everything were coming to try and figure out what he was doing, but when I too had broken into the actual case of where the crown jewels are contained in it. I had 2 words at the end of that, and I think that's a brilliant ender to that amazing scene. So that's my favourite too, actually. Yeah.
You do that amazing scene where you come out of the helicopter to Cream. Did you feel like a bit of a rock star? Like, that was a hell of an entrance.
Like, no, it looked much cooler on the screen than it did on the day, because on the day there was no music. So I just looked like a lunatic. So I just have to sort of imagine what it was like. And it was, freezing on a beach, and everybody was bored, all the crew. And, so you just have to sort of imagine. But it was really cool. And look, I thought that worked. I thought that worked well.
Did, absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay, your question, the lady in yellow.
Hi.
Hi.
Obviously, with a lot of roles, people ask for BBC English. What's it like being able to use your own accent in your roles?
Oh, that's a really good question. There's a sort of accent that many Polish people speak, and it's something I've thought about a lot recently, because I've just played Hamlet over the summer in the theatre. The same question came up there. People were like, "Oh, because I use my own accent in that as well." And I think it's really important that all different types of people have access to being heroes or villains or playing the lead characters, and that we don't just hear a sort of only one type of accent on our screens, because it's important that everybody is represented. A man asked me when I was playing Hamlet, it was at a Q&A similar to this after the show, he said, I was very interested that you chose to play the character in your own accent, not do it in an English accent. And I said, well, play is set in Denmark, so posh English accent is as inaccurate as an Irish accent, actually. But yeah, with Moriarty, that was a big thing. And I think maybe at the beginning when I auditioned, I think we did do versions of it where I played English. But I think it's better. I think it makes it more unique. And Moriarty is an Irish name, and I think it's important to do in certain things. I love doing accents, and I have to do accents a lot if you're an actor. But in this one, I think it's good just to hear lots of different types of accents, like we all have here today.
I think I saw that you had a Russian accent in Legacy, and you learned that from YouTube.
Yeah, I learned that from. I do some work. I had an accent coach as well, but I find it interesting just to hear the sort of weird intricacies of the way people speak. And sometimes if you're thinking about the accent too much, you lose some of the aliveness. And what an audience responds to, I think, is that the actor is really alive in the moment. And if you're thinking about sort of sounds the whole time, you have to learn it and kind of forget about it a bit, which is one of the reasons I don't do too much research either. I think I try not to escape too much from the way I approached acting when I was a kid. You know, the way we all play when we were kids, and or like a lot of people do here today. It's a source of joy, and you play a part. You don't, you know, what you do as homework isn't really any of the audience's business. They just want to see you be as authentic as possible. And so for me, I try to keep it as alive on the day as possible. And you can only really do that if you've got great actors, which obviously we had in Sherlock, and great writing too. Yeah.
Fantastic. Okay, another question on this side.
Big G. I was wondering, is there anyone on the Sherlock set who you find particularly funny at all?
No. I find them all delightful, really, genuinely. There's no one person on that set that I don't really love. You know, it was a big thing we all went through. Martin was very well known before Sherlock, and Una was really well known. You know, she was really famous. You know, in the 70s and 80s and 90s. But everybody else really wasn't. People, both Benedict and myself have been in things, but it's not to the same extent, you know. So to go and do that, and then for it to be sold in 225 countries, it's a big change in your life, you know. It's not just something that was in Britain, it really is sold around the world now, and it does take some getting used to. So it's nice to have people that you've gone through that experience with, and I do count them as my great friends.
Okay,
but none of them are funny.
Thank you. I mean, when you're traveling around the world, do you ever see yourself on the screen dubbed as Moriarty?
I have seen that a few times, yeah. That wasn't a pleasant experience. Or on planes. I remember watching one film that I hadn't seen. I won't say which one. And I thought maybe I'll have a little watch of this while I was on the plane. But that's not very good. But something like the cabin pressure and watching myself made me want to kill myself. And also it would be really embarrassing if someone caught you. Drink set? Oh. So I turned it off quickly, so I don't even know what happened in that film. Anyway. Oh God, I've just broken the dialogue. Sorry.
Okay, another question on this point.
Hi there.
Asking, what was your favourite part filming Pride?
Oh, filming Pride. I love that film. The best part of it was the end sequence. They shut down Westminster Bridge, and which is a really incredible thing to do. And I was on a Sunday morning, and there were loads of extras all dressed up, and members of the original LGSM, Lesbians and Gay Support for Minors, all marched behind us, and they were just incredibly moved because 30 years previously they had watched and they had gone to many Pride events in the 80s where, not like the Pride events now, where they were, eggs were thrown at them and they worked so hard, and it's, you know, on their shoulders that we stand. And to be able to represent that day, and they're all in the final sequencing behind all the lead actors, you can see them, and it was incredibly moving, and that film actually, more than any film across the world, I think has had more impact, maybe a little more quietly than something like Sherlock or Spectre, but those films, you know, the fact that they're available online means that people who feel that they have no support or feel I'm going through this on my own, and that's what great art or drama does, you know, it makes people feel I'm not alone, and that's why I think like events like this are so moving to me, because the whole point of drama and art of any is to try and teach us how to live a better life. That's its only purpose, is to me, you know, to make us go, how can I make my life better? And so anything that can improve the quality of people's lives, which certainly that film has done, makes me feel enormously proud.
In terms of that, obviously you have a lot of fans out there who appreciate those kind of roles that you do.
Yeah.
And with having an avid fan base, I mean, I know that, you know, you've had sort of people give money to charity on your behalf.
I have,
things
yeah.
like that. How does that make you feel?
I find that so moving, really. Yeah. Somebody here, I don't know, yesterday came up, and it was my birthday last week, and
Happy birthday!
Yes.
this girl here
Yes. Hi.
organised, there's thousands of pounds in my name for my birthday present, for an LGBT plus charity, about dealing with kids, supporting kids who are going through issues with mental health. And so there are two things that are very important to me. So thank you so much. It means
They're making me
the world
cry.
really genuinely does. Yeah.
Should we finish on this side?
Hi.
Hello, darling.
There's often, so with, you've played LGBT characters obviously in Pride and stuff, and,
Yeah.
and you're LGBT yourself.
Mm-hmm.
How did it feel playing a kind of sexually ambiguous villain? Because there's often call...
Boring.
There's often call for LGBT plus heroes in stories, but I think it's also important to show them in other roles. How did it...
Yeah, that's a really good point. I think it's important that it's, you know, it's difficult in certain sort of, you know, there is, I just believe that there is good and bad in all of us. So I think the most interesting heroes for all of us have a sort of darker side, and I think villains, in order to make them interesting, I think have to have a side that is vulnerable and to some degree. And so with all characters, I think you've got to look at both, like all their attributes. I always say with LGBT characters, I find it really boring when they're the funny best friend, or else certainly with a lot of gay characters, they're constantly talking about their sexuality every day. They seem to be getting up thinking about being gay. I mean, that's not interesting. You know, really, that's not the experience that I've had. People talk about what's going on. What are when you play a gay character or a straight character, you don't play gay or you don't play straight. You play the attributes that the character has. You know, and so I just think it's very important that we look at our similarities rather than what our differences are, because and I would love to see gay characters represented where that isn't their central storyline. It's part of who we are. Part of who I am is that I'm gay. I'm Irish. I've got brown hair, or whatever the hell. You know, but you can't play those things to a certain. You can play Irish, I suppose. But yeah, I think it's really important that we. What was wonderful about Pride was 16 of the central characters. They were all gay. So you can't then, as a result, play the gay one. You know, because that gay person is as distinct from that gay person as is as distinct from that gay person. You know, of course they are. In the same way, we wouldn't say that about a straight character. So I don't like the division between gay and straight, and bisexual and asexual, pansexual or transsexual or whatever. I don't like it. I'm finding it just so reductive. Anyway, that was a long-winded answer to your question.
That really means a lot as a gay person.
Okay.
Question on this one?
As someone who has a mild form of autism, it's had a huge effect on my mental health, and I use drama as an outlet to express my creativity and imagination by incorporating most of my emotions and my thoughts and my feelings into these characters. And now that I'm soon reaching adulthood, which is very stressful for me, and I'm in sixth form, and it's going to be one of the hardest years of my entire life, I'm also hoping of signing up to several drama schools and hopefully in the future RADA. And this may be a question that you have been asked before, but I was just wondering what your advice would be to young students who are at least intrigued or interested into participating in drama as a career in the future. Sorry if it was a very long question.
It wasn't a long question at all. First of all, I just want to say something about mental health. I think we're in the embryonic stages about our understanding about mental health issues. There isn't a person in this room, or in this stadium, or in this city, or in this country, or in the world that hasn't at some stage, or will have at some stage, suffered from mental health issues. So you're not on your own by any stretch of the imagination. I've had mental health issues in the past, and sometimes the weather is pretty stormy. But I think if we can remember that it is weather, it's weather and it will change, and by its very nature it has to change. So you going for RADA, and you know, maybe it will be a difficult year for you in the next year, but maybe it won't. And I think all we can do is really take each day by the day that it is, you know. So don't predict what way it's going to be. It could be fantastic, you know. So I just think it's really important to say that about mental health. We don't know, and there is no stigma attached. And I would encourage any young person I've met. I've been genuinely so inspired by the bravery and courage meeting people here who've spoken about their mental health issues. Because I do think that what connects us as people is our vulnerability. I think when we go and we meet people and we say, how are you? And people say, do you know what, I'm exhausted, or I feel lonely. Then if that's the truth, people will respond to it. If we put up this constant guard and say, you know, I'm fantastic, and you know, we live in an age with Instagram, Facebook and filters where we can be our own PR machine, you know, we can just, and it's very easy to think that that's a reality for other people, and for some reason in our unfiltered, desolate, lonely lives that we're failing, and we're not. We live in an age where we're fooled by other people, you know, we fool each other. We go, okay, well, I'm going to get rid of that spot, or I'm going to, you know, filter the light there, or I'm going to airbrush my life, and it all becomes an advertisement rather than the way we really are. And the way we really are vulnerable, sometimes unhappy, sometimes joyful, and people. And great art, I think, reflects that. So when you go to RADA, my advice to you or anybody who wants to pursue a life in art is to tell the truth in some way. So bring who you are, and don't feel that you're not enough, because you are. I what?
charity? Is it with Ideas Tab that you?
Yeah, Ideas Tab was a charity which now has unfortunately lost its funding. But just actors, young actors trying to get into drama school. I had 10 of them, and they're all acting out, or they're all in drama school now.
Wow.
Which is amazing.
Thanks to you then. Okay, another question here.
Hiya.
Hi.
After all the questions that have already been asked, mine seems slightly insignificant.
No, it's silly.
Thank you for your answers, by the way. They've been really helpful. But do you ship John Locke?
What do you think my answer is going to be?
Is it a yes?
It's not a yes. It's a no. No, I don't. I have to say I do avoid that stuff. Because I've seen a little bit of it. It's distracting.
Okay, do you want to ask a question here?
Okay, well, first of all, not really a question, but the way you can literally get a mad gleam in your eye, lighting designers must adore you. To find your light. The actual question, though, very short question, or at least very short answer. Were you, by any other chance, up for Mad King George in Hamilton?
I wasn't.
Think of anyone who'd be mad.
Oh, that's very nice of you to say. I can't wait to see that show. It's coming. It's coming soon. I believe it. Pardon? They're still building. Yeah, they're still building the theatre. Because Hamilton, for anyone who doesn't know, is on its way to London. It's this extraordinary, revolutionary new musical. No, as I said, I've just done 150 performances of Hamlet, so I'm exhausted. So no more theatre for another little while.
I mean, it's amazing that you've done Hamlet, not just that in shows, but isn't that one of the roles, I think a lot of actors say that that's the kind of pinnacle in a way, like one of the hardest roles you can do, because it's got like, was it 1,500 lines?
There's 1,500 lines, exactly, yeah.
How would you even start to memorize all that?
Oh my God, it was hard. It was hard. We were talking about it for about 2 years. And we kind of slow roasted it, in the sense that me and Rob, the director, met maybe 2 years ago, and we started talking about things that we like about it, things that we wanted to bring to it. And then I started learning it we started rehearsing it properly in January this year. So I started learning it in maybe July of last year, in between other jobs, just letting it all sink in. But it's hard, you just have to work. And